So what we're doing in this lecture is we're learning how to make a nice graph that is showing the different means of the class data in hatching viability of the brine shrimp, and we're going to include some error bars. So I'm assuming we knew how to get to this position where we made a nice data table. So the things that I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the mean and all the numbers associated, and then I'm going to go into insert, and that gives me a whole different type of buttons here, and I'm going to click this one that says right next to the recommended charts. I'm clicking this one that looks like little lines. Okay, there's a scatter plots here. There's some other types of things here, but I'm going to click the one that says line, and I'm going to do the stacked line with markers. Okay, and you can see that a nice graph appears. Okay, and I'm going to make mine big so we can see what's going on here, and we can move that around. All right, so there's my graph. Now the first thing that jumps out to me is that these numbers on the x-axis are 1 through 5. Now that's not something I want because I know that these numbers from the mean, how the mean changes from one salinity to the other, is due to this actual value of salinity. So I'm going to put this into the x-axis. So the way that I do that is I get to something called chart design. Now I want you to watch something. If I click outside the graph or my chart here, I'm back at the home page. If I click on the graph and select it, something pops up, chart design. Watch, no chart design. Ooh, click on the graph, chart design. Yeah, so now we're in a different place. This is a real important place to know where to fix many of the things that we're going to do to this graph to make it nice and pretty and put in the error bars. So in any case, I make sure that I click on the graph and make sure that chart design is up, and I'm going to select data. All right, so I get this select data source come up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to where it says horizontal category axis labels. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go click on my numbers here. All right. And now I'm going to make sure I'm going to move my cursor back here. Sometimes when you move your cursor and click onto another cell, it's going to pick that cell as part of that group. So you don't want to do that. Okay, I'm hit enter, and now I'll hit OK. And you can see, even though it's small, these values are now indicative of these same salinity values. Now they're too small for me. I know the numbers on the y-axis are just the values for the mean. They're not all they're important, but these are the real big values I want to really pop out. So I'm going to just select. I'm going to kind of click on it, and a box appears. Just like I can click on this mean and a box appears. Now I click on this box. Now I'm going to click back to the home page, and I can do this for all types of boxes with units. And now I can mess around with the size of the font. Make it 16 maybe. Make it bigger if I wanted to. And I could also obviously change the color, okay? And we can make some boldness and being very bold here. I'm not sure if I'm in love with that. I'm just going to stay with black, maybe go just a tad bigger. And now I know I have my values there. So now I'm back where I was. Now, it seems to me that these numbers are important, so we probably should add a label. So let's go click on the graph. Chart design should come up. All right, I'm going to hit chart design, right? So not on the graph. You get this back on here. Hit the chart design, so make sure I can see these important buttons. I'm going to go to add chart element. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my data labels. I think that's pretty cool. But before we do that, let's go to the axes titles, and we're going to go to the primary horizontal. Okay, and there comes an axis title. Okay, seems kind of small, but we can change that, and I'm just going to type what percent. Just we'll do percent salinity, and you can do whatever you like. That's a fancy way of saying percent salt solution, but hey, now I have this clicked and it's too small for me, so I'm going back to the home page, right? I've got the box around it just like we did before, back to the home page, and I'm going to change the font. Okay, not the font, but the size. So I went to 18, I believe. I think I might have to select it. Yep, I have to select it sometimes. Not sure why it's not always the same, but there we go. Make it bold, like I am. Okay, and why not red? All right, so there it is. Now, if I don't think that's big enough, I can do the same thing. I could change that and make it bigger. Okay, that time it did work. So we see what we have here. Now we also, we have a title here. Let's make sure we have a title for all our graphs. So click on the graph. We got chart design, right? I was clicking on the graph to get my chart design to pop up, and I clicked on it. And I go to this important little button where there's a lot of fun stuff here. Let's go the chart title. We'll do above the chart, and there it is. And we could have clicked just on it without doing all that nonsense. And I can call this anything. This can call, you should have it a good name. This is Mr. G's funky graph. All right. And again, not in love with the font, or I'm not in love with the size, so I can go home, right? Change the size of the font and make it bold and make it as funky as I like. All right, and there we go. So there's my graph, okay? And you certainly can make it smaller. Now, something else that's bothering me here is that we have these x-axis grid lines. I want to add some different grid lines that go on the that go up through the y-axis. Okay, so click on the graph, hit the chart design so that buttons come up. Same thing. I'm going all the way to the left. Add chart element, and we're going to go grid lines, and we're going to put some primary, major, vertical lines. We could add some smaller ones, but there we go. If we want to add some more, go back to our grid lines, clicking on this button, and we can go minor vertical. That will give us some more grid lines. Now, we don't really need to have that many grid lines because we have these marked. These little points here are markers. Now, what's really nice is we can add the values that these markers actually equal. So what's nice is to put the actual values. Again, what I'm doing here is something that you could, do without, but I think it's nice to have the values here. So what I'm going to do is, again, click on the graph, the chart design is up, and now I'm going to add the chart element that is going to be the data labels. And let's make them, now you can put these data labels for the points. Again, it's for these actual points to the center, to the left, to the right, above and below. Since we're going to put eventually some error bars here, I'm going to put them to the left so they stay away from the error bars. And boom, there we go. We have our values. They seem pretty small, but we can change them as well. So if I go back to the add to this button, gosh darn it, all right, and to the left, and then we're going to go data labels, and if you notice, there's more data label options. So when you go there, okay, we get this pop up, and all kinds of things that we could do that are different. I see number here, so I'm going to click on the number, and we could add some numbers. I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, here comes number. So you have to click on number and then number again. Okay, so this is 2 decimal places. Maybe I just want 1, okay, because I just like that. And now I could also change the size of the font, okay. So notice it says text options, all right, and I can talk about all of these things here. So what you can see here is a bunch of different things you could do to play with these things, these labels. I'm going to get out of this, but you notice these are selected. If they weren't, I can still select them again. And by selecting them, guess what? I can go back to the home page, right? And I could change the size of the font the same way. You might want to make them not, it depends on what size you like. Again, it's all a preference, all right? And again, I put them to the left of these little markers, okay, to make sure that when we put the error bars, which we're going to do next, we're able to see the error bar. Okay, so let's put the error bars in. Again, there's so much more we could do here to make it pretty, but let's go to the most important part, the error bar. So Again, clicking on the graph. I don't have the charts that I need, so I hit the chart design, right? Because hitting the graph, the chart design comes up, but this is not the right menu of options, so hit the chart design. Okay, add chart element. If you didn't see before, there's my error bars. And we're going to go with more error bar options. Okay, these are the standard ways. Now, when these error bar options come up, we're going to go to this custom. All right. Now, while we're doing custom, these are all fixed values. We already figured out what my error bars are over here. So let's move the graph down. Now we found the standard error of the mean, and we now have the standard error of the mean plus or minus 2. What I mean by that is we times this by 2. So format chart area, we get rid of this. Let's go back to where I was. Don't know why that disappeared. Error bars. Let's go to more error bar options. There we go. We're going to go to custom. Before we do that, make sure that we have the direction of our error bars going above and below. So it's the both top and bottom. And we want to have a cap on top and bottom. And so all of these are default settings, so we're good. We're clicking on the custom. We're going to specify the value. Now when you see this box comes up, we're going to do error bars that go above +2 and minus +2. So this is the positive error. So the positive error is this value. Okay. And then the negative error, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of just make sure that that's not coming in there. I'm going to kind of run over that, just kind of click over that to highlight that. And then I'm just going to drag this down. And so what I just did was I selected this value for the positive standard error of the mean. We want the plus or minus 2 SEM. If you remember, 2 standard error of the means away from the mean is 95% of the norm. So that's about what we're looking for. Okay, and then I then I moved it down for the negative, that'd be the under. Okay, so when you do that, hit OK, and there are our error bars. Okay, and if you did your error bars, all right, and notice something, these are highlighted, which means I can go to the home screen. I can do what, maybe? Well, I thought I could, but I can't, I guess. I thought I could mess with them as well, but I guess I cannot. But in any case, I've got my error bars here in my graph, and essentially that's the graph you need. Now, if you want to make it more interesting, there's so many things you could do. You can click on it, and you can format the chart plot area. So I'm just clicking here, and I can format the chart plot area. By the way, all I just did is I clicked on the graph, and then above this there's a format key. I know I'm off the screen here, and then this comes up, and what can you do? You can do a solid fill. You can change the colors. That was black. Okay, remember I'm funky. All right, now you can change the color of your grid lines. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to make this crazy. You can change the thickness of the line. So there's my line. And again, we can format this to our heart's content. All right, and you can do this. And really what I want you to do is to really play with these things. Right now I clicked on the marker. Okay, I believe I have the marker. And I don't know everything about this, but you can figure out these little points here, okay, and change their color as well. I think we'll go, let's say black. I guess that was the line. I'm not sure where I'm at this point, but in any case, I can give it a glow, and you can work your way around this. I am certainly not an expert of doing this. You're gonna have to play with this. Obviously, a graph that just kind of shows the data is certainly good enough. You don't have to be impressive. This is a nice, this right here, black on white, is easy to read. So when you have your graph done, okay, and you also have what? A data table here. You could work with this data table and also select it, but I can select this graph, hit copy. All I did was select the graph, hit copy, and now I can go to my Google Doc. So I'm in my Google Doc, and I just copied, and I can select an area, and I could paste, and there's my graph, okay? And I can resize it. So nice professional graph that you can add right into your Google Doc. And you could do pretty much the same with the data table. Now the data table, you can clean that up a little bit, and you can work with that. And essentially a nice way to professionally add our data here. Okay, so certainly you could make this look different. You have different options. Okay, basically the bare bones of it. You have a title. You have the uh, what I'm probably missing in mine is that I probably should have a label for my y-axis for the mean. This is actually a mean value, and I could say that here, the mean versus salinity or what have you. But I got my nice error bars above and below, and now we're ready to write our lab. So hopefully that helped. Okay, play it back if you have to. Email me if you must. Okay, have a great day. Well, have a little bit better than average day.